My wife's recent infidelity has thrown our relationship into turmoil, prompting me to question whether I am being unreasonable in my response. To provide some background, we've been together for over a decade, during which time she has never displayed any signs of unfaithfulness. We share 2 children, and while our relationship has had its ups and downs, we've always strived to work through our challenges together. The recent purchase of a new house marked an exciting milestone for us. However, the excitement quickly turned sour when we hired a contractor to work on some renovations. My wife took the lead in coordinating with the contractor, arranging his visits and discussing project details. On the surface, everything seemed routine. On the day in question, my wife informed me that the contractor would arrive around 11 o'clock a.m. Given the hectic schedule with our youngest daughter's dance class, my wife requested that I take our other child out for a drive to give her some much-needed relaxation time. I obliged, understanding the stress she was under due to the move. Little did I know that this seemingly innocent request would unravel a web of deceit. Upon returning home close to 11 o'clock a.m., I found the contractor already at work, seemingly innocuous in his tasks. However, my wife's subsequent revelation about his criminal history and inappropriate messages exchanged between them sent shockwaves through me. She admitted her own inappropriate conduct, though conveniently, the messages had been deleted. Initially, I tried to keep my composure, opting to take a drive to clear my head. But as I reflected on the events of the past days, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was amiss. Recalling how my wife had ensured our children were out of the house when the contractor arrived, my suspicions intensified. Upon confronting her, she reluctantly confessed to kissing the contractor, a revelation that left me seething with anger. And as I pressed further, she revealed an even more shocking betrayal. She had engaged in sexual acts with him. The sheer magnitude of her betrayal overwhelmed me. I lashed out in a fit of rage, hurling expletives and storming out in disbelief. The sense of betrayal cut deep, shattering the trust that had been painstakingly built over the years. However, amidst the turmoil, I grapple with my response. Am I being unreasonable in my reaction? I cannot deny that part of me feels a sense of vindication, a desire to retaliate for the pain inflicted. Yet, I am keenly aware of the broader implications of my actions, particularly in light of my wife's close relationship with her parents. As I navigate the aftermath of this betrayal, I find myself torn between seeking justice for the breach of trust and considering the long-term consequences of my actions. It's a delicate balance, one that requires introspection and a willingness to confront uncomfortable truths. The sting of betrayal cut deep, leaving a trail of raw emotion in its wake. Fueled by a potent mix of anger and hurt, I found myself grappling with the weight of my wife's infidelity. In a moment of reckoning, I made a decision that would send shockwaves through our already fragile relationship. I reached out to her mother, laying bare the truth of what had transpired between my wife and the contractor. It wasn't a decision made lightly. I knew the significance her mother's opinion held in her life, a beacon of approval and validation that my wife had always sought to uphold. Yet, in the throes of my own pain, I couldn't help but wield this knowledge as a weapon, hoping to inflict a fraction of the anguish I felt upon her. The aftermath was tumultuous, to say the least. When my wife returned home that fateful night, her claim of our missing dog seemed almost comical in its absurdity. But beneath the surface, I could sense the turmoil brewing within her, a storm of emotions threatening to consume us both. I reached out to her mother once again, urging her to come and be with her daughter in her time of need. As the night wore on, tensions simmered, threatening to boil over at any moment. Despite my resolve to keep my distance, my wife's persistent pleas eventually wore me down, leading to a begrudging compromise. Yet, even as we retreated to separate rooms, the chasm between us seemed wider than ever, a gaping void that no amount of apologies could hope to bridge. In the days that followed, the weight of our actions hung heavy in the air, casting a pall over our once happy home. My wife's remorse was palpable, her regret a tangible presence in the spaces between us. And yet, even as she begged for forgiveness, there lingered an unspoken tension, a silent acknowledgement of the fractures that now marred our relationship. But amidst the chaos and uncertainty, there remained a glimmer of hope, a flicker of possibility that perhaps, with time and effort, we might find a way to rebuild what had been broken. And so, with a heavy heart and a weary soul, I resolved to confront the challenges that lay ahead, knowing that the road to redemption would be long and arduous, but believing, against all odds, that love might yet prevail. I stood my ground firmly, adamant that I wouldn't acquiesce to such a request. However, after some consideration, I realized that I didn't want to irreparably damage her relationship with her mother. Thus, I conveyed to her that there had been a misunderstanding, and I had jumped to conclusions prematurely. Things had been somewhat stable, with occasional disagreements here and there. Then, out of the blue, my wife messaged me today. She acknowledged the severity of her actions but expressed uncertainty about whether she could forgive me for divulging the truth to her mother, thereby jeopardizing their relationship. In that moment, rage consumed me. Am I overreacting here? It feels like she's insinuating that my actions were more egregious and unforgivable. Regarding the contractor's involvement, it wasn't his first time at our house. Over the course of the week, my wife had been engaging in flirtatious conversations with him. He had been working on a drywall project, a task that required multiple visits. It's evident that their interactions weren't purely professional. Despite catching her, she managed to coax me back into the house, only to betray my trust once again. This isn't the first instance of deceit, and it seems she has a pattern of manipulation. While my actions may have been perceived as petty, they were not unwarranted. She's attempting to shift the blame onto me, but she needs to take responsibility for her actions. Moreover, her refusal to swear on her deceased father's memory regarding the extent of her indiscretion speaks volumes. It's clear that there's more to the story than what she's willing to admit. This situation has left me grappling with a whirlwind of emotions. On one hand, there's a desire to salvage our relationship and move forward, especially considering our children and recent investment in a new home. Yet, on the other hand, there's a profound sense of betrayal and mistrust that's difficult to overcome. Therapy may offer a path toward healing and understanding, but it requires both parties to be committed to the process. Ultimately, the ball is in her court. She needs to acknowledge the gravity of her actions and demonstrate genuine remorse. Forgiveness isn't automatic, and it's a process that requires time and effort from both sides. In the meantime, I must prioritize my own well-being and that of my children, ensuring that we're in a safe and stable environment. I completely agree with your last point. That's precisely what has me feeling so infuriated right now. How could you possibly express uncertainty about forgiving me for telling your mother the truth about your actions? The fact is, you did it, and actions have consequences. While I still maintain that what I did wasn't unjustified, I retracted my stance for the sake of salvaging your relationship with your mom. Now, onto the backstory. My wife, aged 35, and I, aged 38, have been married for 12 years, preceded by 3 years of dating. We have 3 children, a 10-year-old son, a 7-year-old daughter, and a 5-year-old daughter. We both have full-time jobs in different fields. She works in chemistry, while I manage a computer repair store owned by a friend and dabble in short story writing during downtime. Although she's the primary breadwinner and handles most of the bills, I contribute financially to our family as well. Thanks to her job, we own our home outright. Additionally, my parents provide child care for our kids during the week, which has been the arrangement since our eldest was born. Now, onto the recent issue. A couple of months ago, my wife began hinting at a potential promotion that would transition her from the lab to a managerial role with better hours and pay. Ever since she first mentioned it, I've been encouraging her and building up her confidence, convinced that she's the perfect fit for the position given her extensive tenure and qualifications. Last night, she informed me that she might receive news about the promotion today. Without hesitation, I called my boss, explaining that I couldn't come in, and arranged for my parents to watch the kids. We spent the day preparing for her potential success, cleaning the house, crafting congratulatory cards, and even preparing her favorite meal, lobster rolls with lobster bisque, as a celebratory dinner. However, when she arrived home earlier than usual, the atmosphere was one of surprise, as nobody expected anyone to be home at that hour, yet there we all were, eagerly anticipating her arrival. She welled up with tears when she saw everything we had prepared, still in progress, and she hugged our 2 youngest kids, announcing that she got the promotion. Cheers erupted all around, but then she dropped a bombshell. We needed to relocate within the next 2 months to a real estate 3 hours away from our current location. I was caught off guard and immediately refused. Throughout all her discussions about the promotion, she never mentioned that it involved moving to a different location. Our entire family, both hers and mine, resides here, along with all our friends. Plus, my job is here. She insisted that she had brought up the idea of relocating before, but I swear she never did. This sparked a heated argument about not listening to her and only hearing what I wanted to hear. She suggested that this move would allow me to stay home with the kids without needing a secondary job. Amidst the argument, I noticed her texting on her phone. When I questioned her, she said she was asking my parents to take the kids so they wouldn't witness the argument. When my parents arrived, they congratulated her on the promotion and inquired about when we would be moving. She informed them that the promotion included relocation. Feeling overwhelmed, I retreated to the basement couch, unable to face her. Knowing that my parents were aware of the situation means that she probably did mention the possibility of moving despite my recollection. I admit that I may be selfish for not wanting to move. I enjoy my job, our house, and being near my parents. While I understand that this promotion could set us up financially, I still don't think she should accept it. However, I've been reflecting on my behavior and considering the possibility that I may have undiagnosed ADHD, as I struggle to retain information she shares about her job. It's something related to environmental testing, involving soil and water, but the specifics escape me. Our conversations about her potential promotion have mostly revolved around upgrading cars and electronics, without delving into the details. Regarding our kids, they do have friends at school, but they haven't mentioned anything specific to me in the past few weeks. It felt as though everyone was treading on thin ice around me, cautious of my reaction to every word uttered. Amidst this delicate atmosphere, my son managed to interject his opinion, expressing the need for a school with a commendable soccer team. Surprisingly, he had something to say about the situation. Following the heated argument, my wife promptly retreated to our room, while I sought solace in the basement, hiding away like a coward. Part of me hoped that this retreat would provide a cooling-off period for both of us. I couldn't help but feel a bit ridiculous seeking refuge in the familiar confines of the basement, reminiscing about the years spent there since 2010. The morning after our clash, my wife's demeanor shifted as if the altercation had never occurred. It was an odd display, considering the tension still lingered in the air. Despite my reservations, I resolved to support her, though, in hindsight, it felt like a misguided decision. Then came the unraveling. In the days that followed, a realtor was enlisted to scout houses near her prospective new workplace. She proposed the idea of conducting a final walkthrough after selecting a house through photos, allowing her to simultaneously adjust to the new job locale. I reluctantly agreed, preferring not to complicate matters further. Our conversations shifted solely to logistical details, addressing concerns about the impending move, determining my last day of work, and arranging our children's transition. Attempts to engage in casual conversation were met with a stony silence from her end. During one of my shifts at work, a colleague of hers arrived with her children's malfunctioning laptop in tow. As I filled out the requisite paperwork, she casually inquired about our kids' adjustment to the impending transfer. Confused, I probed further, only to learn about a transfer request purportedly submitted by my wife. This revelation caught me off guard, as I was under the impression that she had received a promotion entailing a transfer, not initiated a separate request. However, the colleague insisted that my wife had indeed secured the promotion back in January and subsequently submitted a transfer request, which had been approved. This new information sent me reeling. Hastening to verify the claim, I scrutinized our bank account, only to find her salary remained unchanged, adding another layer of confusion to the unfolding saga. I initially dismissed the coworker's claim as a misunderstanding. However, upon returning home, I confronted my wife about it. She promptly dismissed the coworker's account as jealousy-driven gossip, suggesting that the coworker sought to sow discord in our household due to being passed over for the promotion. This explanation somewhat eased the tension, allowing me to apologize for the misunderstanding and ensuing argument. My wife, seemingly mollified, accepted my apology, attributing my heightened attentiveness to the situation. She acknowledged my efforts, noting that I appeared more engaged than usual, which she appreciated. However, any semblance of reconciliation was short-lived. When my wife returned to collect the repaired laptop a few days later, she maintained a frosty demeanor, barely exchanging pleasantries and shooting me hostile glances throughout the interaction. Despite this setback, things appeared to stabilize momentarily. While I remained apprehensive about the relocation, I resolved not to let our family unravel over my perceived lack of attention. We began organizing our belongings, discarding items we no longer needed, and preparing for the impending move. Amidst this process, I stumbled upon a stash of old laptops hidden in a closet where my wife typically stored Christmas presents. Her explanation that she often hid gifts there seemed plausible, albeit slightly peculiar. Among the items, I also discovered some books belonging to her mother, prompting me to consider using this opportunity to mend bridges with her parents, who had never been fond of me. Without informing my wife, I decided to return the books to her parents during a visit, despite the distance separating us. The encounter with her parents proved awkward but somewhat cathartic. I seized the opportunity to inquire about their sentiments regarding my wife's promotion and the potential relocation. To my surprise, they appeared befuddled, revealing that my wife had mentioned the promotion back in January, expressing intentions to save the extra income as a precautionary measure. This revelation left me feeling disconcerted, as it contradicted my wife's narrative and hinted at a deeper level of deception. Despite my apprehensions, I remained determined to navigate this tumultuous situation and salvage whatever remained of our strained relationship. Due to a business endeavor my boss and I supposedly had in the works, we were allegedly planning to open a new location in the city we were relocating to, with me at the helm. Her parents mentioned my supposed track record of failed investments and plans, expressing skepticism about the success of this venture. I was baffled by their comments, as I had never embarked on any investments or ventures outside of my job since graduating college. I relayed this to them before heading home to confront my wife. During the drive home, my mind raced with thoughts, and I was determined to confront her about the situation. It seemed that her parents had called her while I was en route, prompting her to come clean about everything. She confessed to cheating on me for years, revealing that she had set up a secret bank account after receiving the promotion in January. Her boyfriend in the new city had access to this account, using the funds to refurbish his house in anticipation of our arrival. It was a devastating revelation. Not only had she been deceiving me about the relocation, but she had also poisoned her parents' perception of me over the years and lied to our children. She even confided in a coworker, painting me as an inattentive partner and dismissing our argument as another example of my supposed negligence. In her confession, she expressed disbelief at the unraveling of so many truths at once. Despite this, she remained steadfast in her decision to proceed with the move, disregarding the impact it would have on me and our children. The future suddenly seemed uncertain, and the prospect of uprooting our lives for her deceitful agenda filled me with a sense of despair.